Hey, do-it-yourselfers. Do you get excited about tools? No? Well, I do. In fact, I got one or two tools that whenever I use, get me excited in ways they probably shouldn't. So today, I'm going to share that with you. What I mean is today, I'm going to share with you some of my tools that get me excited. Today, I'm going to share with you my tool when it gets... No, not that one. So today, I'm going to share with you my tools that are exciting. That's it. We're going with that one. Now, I guess I have to explain this because people are going to wonder, none of these tools, or rather the manufacturer of these tools, are sponsoring this video. These are simply my own tools that I like to use when working on my cars. Now, if you end up being interested in any of these tools, I put links to where you can buy them online down below in the description box, so you can click on them and check them out for yourself. And actually, I decided not to do any sponsored videos here on this channel. So if there's any companies out there thinking of contacting me regarding a sponsored video, don't, because my decision is final. Unless you're willing to pay me a lot of money, like $100 and a case of beer. All right, so coming at number 5 is my Milwaukee battery-powered 3/8 ratchet. All right, so this ratchet runs off of a 12-volt lithium-ion battery. It has a forward and reverse switch on the back. It's got an LED light up front and a battery power indicator on the side. And it's about 11 inches long. And I would say with the battery, it weighs about 2 pounds. It's pretty light. All right, now onto what I like and dislike about this tool. Now, Milwaukee rates this as having 35 foot-pounds of torque and being able to do 250 revolutions per minute. Now, being able to do 250 revolutions per minute is probably true, but obviously that's when this is not under any torque. On the other hand, 35 foot-pounds of torque, I highly doubt. And when you doubt 35 foot-pounds of torque, the revolutions per minute doesn't really mean a whole lot, because then it decreases drastically when you don't have enough power up here. Now, with that said, this is still okay when you're running down loose bolts or nuts. But as one would guess, it does have somewhat of a problem breaking loose bolts that are, let's say, larger than 10 or 11 millimeters. For example, let's say these bolts. All right, so let's give this a shot. This is a 12 millimeter, by the way. Yep. The ratcheting head does lock in place, so you can loosen bolts and nuts manually first, and then use the ratcheting mechanism to take them off. Now, besides that, this thing is obviously very versatile due to its shape. And therefore, it's one of the main tools I use whenever I'm doing a repair on a car. You know, this can easily fit here to take off this bolt, use it to take off the valve cover bolts, go to this side, take off these thermostat housing bolts to the pack for intake manifold bolts. At the same time, I don't have to worry about air hoses hanging out of the end of it, like an air ratchet. And also, surprisingly, the batteries on these last a long time. Now, here's a tip for you. If you ever want to buy one of these, if you buy the battery, the tool, and its charger separately, you can actually get an extra battery, and this would cost you only $3 more if you were to buy it as a kit with the gun, the battery, and the charger. And that's obviously very useful because it would mean no downtime. Whenever your battery runs out, you take it out, put it on the charger, grab the other battery that's fully charged in the tool, you go back to work. You don't have to worry about batteries or wait for them to recharge and all of that. Now again, if you're interested in purchasing these, I put separate links for these in the description box down below. All right, coming in at number 4, my extendable 3/8 ratchet with a flex head. That's correct. Whenever I start a repair on a car, the first ratchet I reach for is this 3/8 extendable ratchet, and this ends up being usually the only ratchet I use for the entire repair. Doesn't matter how involved that repair is. Now, even though this 3/8 ratchet is longer than my regular Craftsman 3/8 ratchet and even has a bigger head, I end up using this and rarely ever touch this one. And again, as one might guess, this thing being a flex head is the main reason for that. This feature allows this ratchet to get into all sorts of places that a regular 3/8 ratchet cannot get into. But not just that, since this is extendable, you can apply a lot more torque to whatever bolt or fastener you're trying to take off and remove it a ton easier. Now, a lot of different companies make these 3/8 ratchets. And again, this Easy Red ratchet has treated me well, and I would recommend it. However, if you decide to go with a different company, make sure you pay attention to one feature, which is again the flex head. You want to make sure that when you set this flex head to a certain angle, let's say this angle, it cannot easily be moved from that angle, because the reason you're setting it to this angle is because you're trying to get to a fastener that's not easily reachable. And if this thing is too loose here, you put your socket on here, you try to get down there to that fastener, it's going to hit something and then it's going to move. You're not going to get to the fastener, you're going to have to take it out, redo the whole process again. So make sure that the head has something like this, which is this clicking mechanism that keeps it in place, or that the flex head on your ratchet has this screw here that you can tighten in order to make this more firm. Now, most of these ratchets are probably going to have that screw, but there are going to be cheap ones out there that do not. And if they don't, and this thing is too loose, you're not going to be too eager to use this whenever you're working on your car, and that defeats the whole purpose. All right, next up, my 1/4 inch Chicago Electric impact driver. So similar to the Milwaukee ratchet, this also runs off of a 12-volt lithium-ion battery, has an LED light down here, and the forward and reverse switch up here. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this for the Milwaukee, but both of these tools have a variable speed switch. Now, even though this thing comes with a 1/4 inch size chuck, you can still use these adapters to make it work with your 1/4 inch size sockets all the way to your 1/2 inch size sockets as well. Now, this is rated at 32 foot-pounds of torque, which is, I guess, 3 pounds less than the Milwaukee ratchet. However, in practice, this is much more powerful than that Milwaukee ratchet. And in order to demonstrate this, we're going to use it on the same bolt that we tried that Milwaukee ratchet on. No problem at all. Cut! Cut! What the fuck is this stupid thing? Hey, on camera. Now, however, as you can see, this is not going to be as versatile as the 3/8 Milwaukee ratchet. But since it has a lot more torque, you can not only use this to do repairs on your cars, take off bigger bolts than the Milwaukee can, but also, you can use it for doing repairs around the house. For example, putting in drywall screws, taking fixtures off or putting them back on, all that stuff, you can use this as well. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, this one costs about 1/3 of what the Milwaukee ratchet does. In fact, I like these guys so much, I got 2 of them. All right, so up next for number 2, I'm gonna lump in together a few tools that some might say are insignificant or not as important, but in my opinion, these tools are really just as important as the other tools on this list, because they will allow you to finish up a repair faster. All right, first up, my socket organizer. Now, there are many different socket organizers out there, but I find these to be by far the most convenient one. They're only about 3 inches tall, and therefore can fit in almost any toolbox. All the different sizes are clearly marked, and taking out and putting back your sockets is super easy. None of that stupid foamy stuff. All right, up next, my ratchet adapters. So basically, these adapters will allow you to use certain size sockets for ratchets that they were not built for. For example, this is a 3/8 to 1/4 inch adapter. You put this on your 3/8 ratchet and you get to use 1/4 inch sockets. Now, here's one that I use a lot. This is a 1/4 inch to 3/8 adapter. Now, the reason why I have these on this list are, again, for versatility reasons, or in other words, allowing you to get into some hard to reach places. For example, let's say you're using this 13 millimeter long socket on your 1/2 inch ratchet. As you can see, it comes out to about 4 inches, but in order to get to a certain bolt down below the, let's say, the intake manifold, you only have about 3 inches of space. Now, how are you going to get to that? You can't really remove this and use a regular 13 millimeter socket, because that would just simply bring it up to maybe 2 inches or 2 1/4. Using a 3/8 ratchet with a long socket is still just a bit too long. However, if you were to use a 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter and get it on your 1/2 inch ratchet, and then get a regular size 13 millimeter 3/8 socket and put it on that, then you have exactly 3 inches and you can get to that bolt. All right, next, a quick tip on buying extensions. First things first, make sure whenever you're buying an extension that it has this texture on it, this texture right here. Because the odds are, whenever you're working on your car, you're gonna end up getting oil and grease on your hand, and then you go to use this extension to remove a socket. If this texture is not there, your hand is just gonna simply slip on this, and that's gonna suck. Also, make sure you not only get the extensions with this straight head, but also with a swivel head. because these ones with a swivel head are going to allow you to get into those tight corners and get to those hard to reach bolts or fasteners that the straight one cannot. In fact, if you're going to buy just one set of extensions, make sure you buy these, because these not only are swivel head, but if you press it on this socket, it kind of becomes a straight head, but it can get knocked loose. So really you want to make sure you have both of these. All right, up next, by far my favorite tool that has gotten me out of a jam way more than I can count is my extra long ratcheting wrenches. Now these are a very specific type of ratcheting wrenches. Again, not only they're longer than most, but also they're reversible. They have a switch on the side, as you can see here. They have 12 teeth on the inside, but most important of all, they are offset. Now this is very, very important, because these being offset turns these into practically a socket. So for example, let's say you wanted to take off that bolt. Now if you're using a regular ratcheting wrench and it's not offset, it's going to have a flat end. So let's say we're going to use this end to take off that bolt. Since if you look at it from this angle, that bolt is slightly underneath this top of this cylinder, we are not going to be able to get to it. In fact, if we were to put it on that bolt and then try to twist it, it's just going to slide off of it. But since these have this offset tip, you can put it at a certain angle, get it on that socket, and twist it off. Also, again, similar to my extendable ratchet, these are made by EasyRid. However, the newer ones made by EasyRid are not as reliable and as hardy as the older ones, which I have here. I got these about 6-7 years ago, but from the research I've done, the newer ones are not as reliable as those. However, a different company makes pretty much exactly the same thing, and it's much more reliable than these, and the price, there's no price difference as far as I can tell. So I put a link to that in the description box if you're interested in one of these. Now obviously these things having a swivel head and being longer has come to my rescue many times trying to get to those hard to reach bolts, but other ways these things have helped me is, well, as you can see inside the head, it has 12 points. Therefore, you can use this to remove not only 6-point bolts, but 12-point bolts, Torx-headed bolts, and probably triple square bolts as well. Now, as you can see, these come in a set of 5s, and since you have 2 different sizes at the end of each ratchet, you get a total of 10 sizes. And you can get these sets for both metric and standard. I have the metric set here and have never really felt the need to get the standard set. Now, if you enjoyed watching this video and want to help support my channel, all you have to do is simply click on another one of my videos. You can either click on this one right up here, on the one right below it, or any of my videos down below in the suggestion box. And by doing that, you help support this channel, which will in turn allow me to bring you guys more videos. And while you do that, I'm going to go partake in some lewd behavior with my ratchets. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.